two, one. Boom. We are live. All right. I'm here with my good friend Elad Levy, VP Marketing of Loox. Let's jump into it. Elad, good friend.
Hey,
I've probably known you as long as I made Aliyah like almost 9 years ago, 8.5 years ago. I think I knew you almost
wow,
just as long.
that
Yeah,
long.
that long, right? Yeah. I mean, I technically made Aliyah like 11.5 years ago, but I went back to Philly for a few years. And so I've known you as a fantastic marketer, a guy that really knows his stuff, who has a very good core understanding of marketing. And so when I see you tweeting regularly on Twitter, and after Elon Musk's alleged maybe acquisition of Twitter, we'll discuss that too. I was like, we definitely got to talk about this because marketing is going to change, and Twitter's already changed, even though he hasn't purchased it, because they're already starting to address the issues that he's bringing up, because everyone agrees that what those issues are. We'll get into all of that. Getting rid, bots, improving the advertising, um, and the algorithm. I'm sure we can spend a year and a half just talking about that. But before we get into that, and before we jump into Twitter, Elad, why don't you kind of tell us a little bit what you do, what your experience is with marketing, and maybe a little bit with Twitter, and then we can jump right in. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask them. Of course, we'll address them.
Sure. So, first off, it's a pleasure to be here. Share these thoughts and arguments. It's very nice. Um, Myself, I've been around marketing, I believe, for 12 years now. Makes me feel kind of old saying that out loud, but yeah. Uh,
Does this sound? When I say it, does this sound better or worse? You've been doing it for 12 years.
yeah, yeah. I don't know.
I know,
It
right?
feels old. Feels old. But really, the whole breadth of things, from marketing manager to agency side, back to client side, consultant. Had my own gig at Fixel, running for a few years, and sold it off last November, a year and a half ago. And over the past few months, they came in as VP marketing here at Loox. So that's what I've been doing over the past decade. Um, Really touched on anything, but I'd say my core strengths are around the technical aspects of marketing, SEO, web analytics, marketing automation, all these kind of techie, geeky things get me going. So that's me, very, very briefly.
Would you say you're a tech nerd?
I'm sorry?
Would you say you're like like a marketing technology nerd?
Yes, sir, necessarily.
Because it's important where you're coming from. Because when we're going to talk about Twitter, and because Elon Musk is also kind of totally a tech and engineer guy, there's a whole different perspective I think that different people have. All right, so Elad, tell us, how are you first introduced to Twitter?
So I actually came across Twitter as an Israeli. It doesn't happen, as early as an American and not as widely adopted. So I came
Right.
across Twitter some while back when I was working for a high tech company, when I was switched over from agency to client side again. And so I got into Twitter, opened up my account, followed our kind of company events and whatnot, but wasn't really much involved in anything happening on Twitter. Uh, and then when we started up Fixel, we started engaging with some communities. So we started doing some research, understanding where these people hang out, and Twitter was one of these immediate go-tos. Surely, talking to online advertisers in the US. Um, so we try to infiltrate these communities. There's the PPC chat and all these other groups that are
So
happening
how
on
did
Twitter.
you? Well, let's slow things down so people can learn how you kind of learn Twitter. How do you find a community on Twitter?
So one of the greatest tools that I've been looking at over the past few years is SparkToro by Rand Fishkin of Moz. So they have this nice little tool you can use even freely to research what your audience, where your audience hangs out, right? So that can be on Twitter, that can be on social media elsewhere, on YouTube or wherever it may be. It can be on all these different publications. So if you really want to map out in detail where these people are, you'd want to go on SparkToro and understand from there where the conversation happens. Um, and through that, we came across Twitter. We understood what the right people are, the right thread that these people are engaging on. Um, and back at the day, we automated some bot on Twitter because that's what people do to actually catch any conversations that are mentioning at the time, retargeting, remarketing, all these different things, and organically join into these conversations. and that's how we came across
What do you
all
mean
these
by
different reviews.
organically join into these conversations? So like you would use a bot which would be able to scrape when people are certain, like let's say, mentioning, tweeting certain keywords. And
Right.
then what? You'd get a notification to like, hey, join and reply, or the bot itself would use some kind of
No, so
algorithm or
we
AI
would
to
we would
reply.
waltz in and custom tweet our replies. I didn't want a bot because it really removed that human interaction.
Hmm. Right. Do you think
So
people do
monitoring is
right?
one thing, but responding is a totally different game. Um, I still think it's a big thing. We're still doing it for Loox now. So currently monitoring all of our own terms or even competitors' terms and looking into these. And it's very significant for keeping A, an ear to the ground, and B, actually responding in real time to clients that are asking questions, that are expressing frustrations or small wins even. We've celebrated with a customer of ours that celebrated hitting 1,000 reviews on Loox. So it's a small win for him, and we came in and celebrated with him.
Awesome. So what about they say like 1/4 of American adults are on Twitter, and how many of them are active, God knows. But how could you say that that's like where to put your eyes and ears on what's going on the ground when other platforms there's far better use, such as LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, uh, TikTok, God forbid, etc.
So in our case specifically, I can tell that we have these very select set of platforms. We have Facebook groups that are intended for advertising professionals or Shopify professionals specifically. We have Twitter threads that are relevant to the DTC community or influencers within that community. And we have Reddit, which is also very active for people in Shopify, D2C, all these different topics. So we're closely monitoring these. Now, Twitter is kind of an unfiltered platform, right? If people go on Facebook, if people go on Reddit, they'll write up, a longer post, that they probably thought about longer, and it's kind of more articulated. And Twitter is kind of a fast-paced, you get the very raw material of what people are talking
Yeah, I
about.
think that's well said because it is really raw because people
Yeah.
don't think much before they tweet, before they reply. That's why people get canceled for tweeting, but not usually for other platforms.
So I think it's very good to be able to access that, right? And being
Right.
on it, on top of it, is fantastic for us.
Hmm. I actually, I don't know why the comments aren't pulling into StreamYard because StreamYard's being not nice today. I'll say it mildly. A lot does. I have a friend that does SDR as a service, is outreach, and he said he's expanding from LinkedIn outreach to Twitter outreach. Now they're in the process of doing that. So I think there's actually been a lot of talk of expansion in of people using Twitter. They said a lot of people got on just from the rumors of let's say the deal that was signed with Elon Musk and Twitter that's temporarily on hold. We'll see where that goes, but I think that people have already seen some changes. Um, well, why don't we just talk about the acquisition and first why it happened? I think so. Maybe, and I think the main thing to talk about is actually the cultural impact of Twitter. So, kind of to go like what I was saying, I don't know, like 1/4 of adults or something in the West are on Twitter. However, some people call it's like it's the town hall, right? And those that are interested in free speech, such as myself, and they think people should be able to communicate and think and say what they want freely, right? Assuming you're not physically hurting anyone or calling to violence, um, that people kind of feel like it is the best and easiest way to communicate, like you were saying, and it's the best and easiest way to listen to what's happening. I think part is the character limitation, part how easy it is to send out a message. It's very much text heavy. People don't really upload photos and videos as often. It's just, I have an idea, let me just get it, let me just type it out there and let's put it out there. There is, of course, a rush as marketers, especially those in media, want to be the first one to cover things, right? So people are always quick to share what's going on. And also what you're learning is if something breaking news happens, right? That usually it's Twitter's the first place where it's public, everyone can get it. Because
Right.
like the thing about Facebook is that I don't see your content unless I'm friends with you, right?
Right. So I think
And I choose not to follow.
that's the key difference. It's a social
Right.
graph, the kind of algorithm that brings in content that's interesting to you, but is almost always outside of your close kind of followers,
Right.
following loop,
Right.
right? And I think that is a major change. And I think in some weird way, Musk is actually challenging that because he's saying, okay, let's drop that algorithm. Let's move to a simpler